Hey everyone, so I decided I'm going to start these videos mainly focusing on my journey through cancer, like how I was diagnosed and everything that's happened since. So in this video, I'm going to talk about like how I felt in the beginning, my fear of going to the doctor when I first started receiving all the symptoms before I even knew what I had. So in the first time I remember talking about the symptoms to anyone, it was about November time of 2017. I was sitting with my dad, my grandma, and my great-grandma, and telling them how when I would stand up, I would get really lightheaded, and I was standing up, and I felt like I was standing up too fast because my vision would go completely black, and it was just really weird, and I was having these headaches all the time. And they were like, well, maybe you just need to drink more water, maybe you need to be drinking more water. And I'm like, yeah, maybe that's it, it's been hot, maybe I'm getting dehydrated. So I remembered that, and then at school, throughout 2018, I kind of remember having some of the symptoms, and some of my friends would tell me about it. They're like, hey, maybe try not to stand up so fast, or bring some more water to school with you, try to take deeper breaths. People were telling me all kinds of things. And it wasn't until about March that people were telling me, hey, you need to go to a doctor. And I was like, yeah, I probably should go to a doctor, but I'm scared. I don't want to find out that something's wrong with me. And that was bad, which I'll get to. So, sorry, also, by the way, that the whole video setup is weirder and different from the last time, because last time I did it on my computer, and this time I'm doing it on my phone, because my computer died, and I just wanted to make this video right now. So, anyways, as time went on, my symptoms were getting worse. I remember, at my birthday, I had gotten a little lightheaded, so this big mirror I have in my room that I would use to do my hair and my makeup, I was getting ready on my birthday, and I had set it up, and it fell on me because I had gone lightheaded and I couldn't hold on to it, and hit my head, and my leg hit the side of my bed frame, and I have this really big bruise that's still kind of there, even though it's years later, it still hasn't gone away. This was 2018 that this happened. So it's still there though, and I remembered that, and I remember going to school and walking to the bus stop and feeling a little lightheaded. And then the next time I remember experiencing the symptoms was the day of my graduation. I was doing pretty okay for most of the day, just because I was really able to sit down a lot and avoid getting up too much, and I was drinking a lot of water, so I thought maybe I'm getting better. But then when graduation was actually happening and I went to walk up to the stage, I remember thinking to myself, instead of thinking in my head, I'm here, I finally made it, instead of being happy, I was thinking, I feel so lightheaded, please don't fall. And I was just trying my best to just get back to my seat. And even at the dinner afterwards, I remember sitting and thinking, I just want to put my head down. I just want to put my head down. My head hurts so bad, I just want to put my head down. And I was trying to have a really good time because it wasn't just my graduation. My cousin also graduated with me that day, and I didn't want to be complaining. It was a really good day. It was really nice that all the gifts everyone had done and given me and given him for his graduation. I just didn't want to complain and ruin it for everybody. And I remember getting home that night and just changing into my pajamas, taking off my makeup, and laying down. And then the next big time I remember it happening before I went to the hospital is at my grad night. On the way there, I felt kind of fine, and as I was sitting there, I would lean my head against the seat and I would feel kind of okay. And then we got there, and I'm not the kind of person who rides roller coasters. I'm just not. I don't really like roller coasters, but at Disneyland, I'll usually ride some of them. And the ones my friend were gonna get on, it was a simple little roller coaster. I was like, oh yeah, I'll do it. But my head was killing me. So I went and I bought a stupid $7 bottle of water, and I sat down and I called my mom. And I told her, I was like, my head hurts, I do not feel good, something's wrong. And she kept telling me, do you want me to come pick you up? Do you want me to come pick you up? And half of my head was thinking, yes, I just want to go home. And the other half was thinking, this is the last time I'm going to be with my friends. After this, it's summer, and then we're all going on to college. And I was like, well, I'll see them after summer because I'll be going to college with them. And then that didn't end up happening either. So, but anyways, I stayed throughout the day. And I remember, like, when you're walking around Disneyland, your legs hurt and stuff like that. I didn't even care about my legs. My head, I felt so lightheaded. I just wanted to curl up on a bench and lay there. So by the time we left, and when I got home, I never wanted to leave my bed. And then the weekend came up, and I was supposed to go to my dad's for the weekend, I remember. Because I had called him, and I told him how I was feeling, and he was like, you know what, if you really feel that bad, and you don't want to leave your bed, just stay home. You don't have to come for the weekend. I was like, I think I'm going to do that, because I couldn't even stand up to hang up my laundry, to put my laundry on the hangers and hang it up in my closet. I was feeling sick just from doing that, and it was just awful. So I remember the night before I went to the emergency room, I was laying in bed watching a Joey Graceffa video. I remember how I had started watching YouTube because all through high school I never really watched YouTube, and it wasn't until really into my cancer that I remember actually starting YouTube. So I don't remember why I was watching that at the time, but I was watching a gaming video, and I remember sitting there with my head propped up, and this headache came, and I was like, I'm laying down, what's going on? And I turned off my phone with the video, and I rolled over, and I just prayed that it would go away. I just prayed that it would stop. And then the next day, my mom was going out somewhere, and I knew I shouldn't have, but I just wanted to prove to myself that I could be stronger than the pain I was feeling. Even if I just sat in the car, I just wanted to prove to myself that there was nothing wrong with me. So I got up. I don't remember getting dressed. I don't remember what I was wearing that day. None of it really matters, but what I do remember is I went to my mom's room, and I had gotten water, and I sat on this couch she had in there, and I remember leaning my head back, feeling lightheaded again. And I thought, I need to put ice in my water bottle. So I got up, after a little bit of convincing myself that I needed to get up. I got up, I walked to the kitchen, I started to put ice in my bottle, and my vision went black. And I remember thinking, I need to sit down. And the next thing I remember, I hear my sister walk into the kitchen and turn around and go, Mommy, Brittany's on the floor. And hearing my mom go, what do you mean she's on the floor? And then after that, I remember being in the car and my mom saying, we're taking you to the emergency room. This is it. So we went to the emergency room, and we weren't there long before they brought me back. I was really pale. They put an IV in me. At the time, when I was a kid, I used to have crazy issues with needles. I would like hide under the beds and scream and cry, and it would take all these nurses to hold me down to get a shot. But then as I got older, I got better. Even in high school, I would donate blood. So when they gave me the IV then, you know, I sat, I took it, I was like, it hurts a little bit, yeah, but it's whatever. And they took me back, and they started putting a bunch of blood into me. And my mom went to take the girls home, and they said they were going to keep me overnight, and my dad was sitting there with me. And this nurse comes up to me, and she says, you had 2 units of blood left in your body. You should not be alive, let alone walking in crutches. You are very lucky. And I thought that my symptoms were bad, and I thought that all this other stuff was bad, and now this lady told me that I should be dead. So, the reason I'm adding this is because I want to let anyone that's watching this know, if you think there's something wrong with you, I know doctors can be scary, and finding out something's wrong with you can be scary, but go see a doctor. Don't wait like I did. Don't be stupid and think, oh, I'll be fine, it's gonna pass, because before that I had gone to my regular doctor, and he said that he couldn't tell what was wrong by looking at me. So he was actually going to take blood from me, and if he would have, I probably would have passed out if I would have gone to get that blood work done. And I was actually due to get that blood work done the week that I had gone to the emergency room, so thank goodness that I didn't. So after that, moving on into how I found out about what I have, I spent the next 2 days in St. Mary's, and they were sticking needles in me left and right. My arms and my elbows were just bruised, and it hurt to close them because of how many things they were testing me for. I remember, because I had just turned 18, I had to sign my consents. Like, when my mom wasn't there, I had to sign my consents. So I remember one time they brought in one, and I was reading it, and it said HIV, and I was like, I thought that was a sexually, I've never even had sex, what? It was crazy. And then that night, my mom and my dad were there, and I believe my stepdad was there, and they said, we're going to do bone marrow on you. I've never had a procedure. I've been in the hospital before for a big thing. I had an accident. I fell off my horse. But I've never had like a procedure like that done, so I was very scared. But the nurse, I don't remember her name. I feel really bad, but she was very nice. So it helped that she was there. The doctor, whose name I also don't remember, sorry, she was very kind of rude about it, but she came in and she said, we're going to do the bone marrow, we're going to put a shot in your hip, because that's usually where they take it from, and we're going to numb it. And I said, okay, so I rolled out to my side, and she gives me the shot, and then 5 seconds later, before the shot's even working, she's digging this big old needle into my hip, and I'm laying there crying and whining. She's like, don't move, and I'm like, when you feel pain, your body just tells you to move, and she's digging around in my hip, It felt to me like she was there for half an hour. I know that's probably not how long it was, but it felt to me like at least that long. So then she covers it up and she rolls me onto my back and she goes, we couldn't find it. And then all of a sudden, she takes this big old, this big of a needle, probably bigger, I don't know, and jams it into my chest. I'll probably put pictures of where that was and how my arms look at the end of this video, so just to warn you if you're sensitive to that content. I'll try to put a warning on here before I put them, if I add them. I'm going to try to do it though. So anyways, back to the story. She jammed this needle into my chest, and I was so shocked, I stopped breathing. I went into shock. And I don't know how many seconds later, but it was a few, and I heard the nurse next to me, she's like, you need to breathe. And I took in this big gulp of air, and then out came a sob. It's just like, oh my gosh, that hurts so bad. It's terrible. Oh my gosh. And the doctor took it out. She's like, we got it. And then she took off, and the nurse cleaned it up and she covered it. She was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? We don't usually do that. I was like, I guess. And then my parents came in and I told them what happened. My mom, my dad, my stepdad, all my parents. And I told them what had happened, and they were like, oh my gosh, really? And then, since it was late and you can't stay in those rooms, they had to leave. And I remember laying in that bed that night, and I was about to go to sleep, and I could feel from the bandage it was dripping, and I looked down and there was blood, and I was laying on the bed, and I hit the button, And the same nurse came in, and she's like, what's wrong? I was like, it's dripping, I don't think it's supposed to do that. She was like, no, 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 it's fine. And she cleaned it up and put a new Band-Aid on it, but that was a very interesting experience. So then the next morning came, and I was laying there. My mom was on my right side, and my dad was on my left side, and I was holding their hands, and I was crying, because I just wanted to go home. I didn't want to be in the hospital anymore. The roommate I had was driving me crazy, because she was in there for like a heart surgery, but she was smoking, and doing like all this crazy stuff, and she would get mad when I would have visitors, and I just wanted to go home to my room. And the doctor who had done the procedure on me comes in, and she goes, why is she crying? And my dad goes, she's just sad. She just wants to go home. She just wants to go back to her house and see her siblings and all that. And then the doctor just says, she's not going home. She has cancer. And one of the worst parts about that is, as soon as I heard she's not going home, I started crying harder. So I didn't hear the she has cancer part right away. So I actually had to have my dad tell me that that was what I had. And I don't even know how hard that must have been on my dad to have to tell his only daughter, you have cancer. So they told me, they were like, well, you're going to be transferred either City of Hope or Loma Linda. I ended up going to Loma Linda, and I was trying to comfort my mom and my dad and telling them while we were waiting for the transport, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. And then once I got into that ambulance, the EMT was really nice. He was like asking me questions that I think they're supposed to ask you and all that stuff. And I was trying so hard not to cry. He was explaining to me that I have ALL, acute lymphatic leukemia. Lymphatic? I'm not sure. But he was explaining to me that that's what I had. And then I got to the hospital, and my dad and my grandma were coming that night, because my mom wanted to go home real quick and, be with her other kids, which I understand, they need attention and time too. So, but for a little bit, because my dad had gone to go get some things from the house, and so for a little bit I was there. And that's when I met Dr. Gessler. She was my first doctor when I was there. And she was like, do you understand what you have? And that was the first time I just broke down. I was like, no, I don't. And she did a very good job at taking it slow and letting me cry and explaining to me. She was like, well, you have acute lymphatic leukemia, ALL, and you're also slightly anemic. So, you can't bleed, you can't do things like shave, because if you cut yourself, you're gonna bleed. You can't do any of that. And I was like, I just turned 18. I'm supposed to be enjoying my summer and then going to college in the fall with my friends. And now I can't do any of that because I have cancer. Something that a family friend, John, my uncle's friend on my dad's side, had cancer, and he had recently passed away with it, and now I was being told that I have this disease. And they kept telling me, they're like, well, it's the most treatable, it's gonna be fine. And I'm like, but it's cancer. Is it really gonna be fine? So it was very hard for me to hear that. And it was a lot. So that's like the story of the symptoms and my diagnosis. I'll go more into what happened once I got up to the hospital and started learning more about it and, started my chemo in my next video, because I'm already starting to cry and I don't have a full-on breakdown. So, thank you for watching. I'll try to add the videos here or in this description, whichever one I can do. And I hope you continue to follow me on my journey discussing what cancer is like. Thank you.